That's funny. I played a blast tournament. Didn't cash. Had one other hand that I lost. Set of where is it? Where is it? Uh, I guess it was on one of the tables that closed. Not a lot of tables going on today. But I had Ace King on a 7-7 Ace flop with one heart. Bet the flop pretty heavy. Uh, Player in the button who had limped called my raise calls. Uh, Turn comes off like the four of hearts. I bet enough to commit him to the pot. He just checks. I bet again, or I bet again. He just calls, and then on the river, the heart flush comes off, and I'm like, well, I've only got like $2 left in this 170 big blind pot. If he's got the flush or a seven, that's just too bad. I put it all in, and he slow rolled the call. I think he actually nit rolled it. I think he wasn't sure if he was good or not. Like I might have had a full house from the start for some reason. But of course he's not going to fold. So eventually he calls, and I lose to the ace eight of hearts. But other than that, nothing really happened. I won a hand with ace king, where a guy paid me off. Pretty much the same betting pattern, and the guy had a worse ace. Just limp snap call. I love it. I absolutely love it. Limp snap call. Everybody calls. Like this is one where if somebody flopped a set, it's just too bad. But we see a min raise. Yeah, just top pair retard. Hold. Thank you. All right. Just snap called it. So, not 100% sure about this. Queens, wow. How does that happen? Player limped it. That's annoying. That is annoying. So, limp raise, I call. This guy just jams all in. This guy min raises. I jam over the top. You know what? I'm fine with it. It's one of those ones where I underplayed the hand to get excess action, so it seems aggressive, and it is. But you're going to see stuff like this too. So, I'm not defending it. I'm fine with it. Double gutty. Just a casual day. And I think I win this one, right? I'm going to say 6. I don't know what this is. 8-7, so a gut shot. Interesting. Damn. Ooh, that 2 pair is pretty hot. Yeah. At 5 sucks because it kills my action, but I'm really not worried about losing here. I think he was just bluffing the whole time. I think he had something like King Queen or King Jack. The fuck is that? Yeah, I thought about just calling that. Somebody's playing fucking... playing, I Can Feel It. Maybe they're just testing their, maybe they're just testing their, speakers? Because they turned it down. That's weird, though. Hey. Okay. Oh, what the hell? I don't get what's going on here. That's annoying. Oh, the jack. So, how often does this guy have a 10? I'm going to say not very, but I'm going to check it because I want him to bluff the river. He had queen 10. Calls with a gut shot. Doesn't get any value. Love it. I mean, I get he can have a 10 there, and he can have 10 jack, and he can have queen 10 and all those fucking hands, but when I hit a set on the flop, it just takes away so many more fucking combos. Because he can't have king 10. It's just fucking brutal. I feel like I could have bluffed this flop, but there's 3 players in here, and I'm not really sure. Maybe I could, well. I'm going to go for turn and river. I think if I get past this guy, I'm okay. River misses. That should do it. Yep. Just got a jam. Flush draw, I think, is the problem there. But being in position helps. That was a nice one. I think we can check here. I'm just going to keep checking. It's kind of a bluff catcher. I mean, what the fuck? Seven, 3. So 3-bet and then c-bet small. Don't think so. Queen on the river is a fucking nightmare. This is a tough one. I mean, if he jams, it's tough. If he checks, I just check. Because he's going to have a queen a lot. Yep, queen on the river is a fucking nightmare. I fucking knew it. God damn it! Oh. And then and see, here's the thing. You should be checking that river because I should never have a jack. I should only have sets there. Oh, it's so fucking frustrating. Like, this is the kind of goddamn ridiculous shit. Bets the flop, keeps betting through the turn, and it's so transparent. And I'm sitting there going, all right, if it's not an ace, I'm okay. But then the queen comes off, and it's so fucking fringe. It's annoying. Like, this is not a spot to bet, but players like that will just go ahead and fucking bet it. There's zero reason to bet here. Of course, I missed the fucking full house over here. You got it. Oh, it's frustrating. Makes me so fucking mad. Because the thing is, he's jamming all rivers. He's not giving up. He just has to hit the perfect 3-outer. If it's an ace, I don't call. I absolutely don't call. It's just annoying. Is this guy gonna play every fucking hand? Like, that call was so fucking fast. There's 4 players in the fucking pot. Like, I can't even... And this dude bets 30 fucking cents. Like, what in the actual fuck is going on? Okay, thank God somebody else called, because I'm just getting out of the way. Yeah, there's just never any action here. What the fuck? I got on the waiting list over here. What the hell? Folding. Oh, that is a frustratingly bad bet that worked out for this guy. Hey, what's up, Chloroform? How you doing, my man? Half pot on a gut shot. So if a 10, a queen, a 7... So it's 10s, queens, and 7s. So that's 12, 24 on the next card. So I need to be getting 3 to 1. So I'm getting it. I think I also see the river a lot if this guy eventually folds. Eight's not bad either. King on the river. Great bluff card for him, but he didn't take it. Ace queen. Oh my God, take longer. Take longer. Nice catch. Hmm. Dun, 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 dun. Hmm. Not a lot to talk about, but nobody's complaining, so okay. I'm also kind of looking at stuff on the side over here. Nothing really excessive or interesting. Just a bunch of Reddit posts. Okay. Not interesting. I mean, this is kind of a block. There it is. That's the bet. It's kind of a blocker bet with a straight, I was going to say. This is the jam ball with a flush. Whoa, and he tried to slow roll the call. Whoa, you deserve that. Yeah, okay. What the fuck? Where did it... Not bad. Nice. Ooh, I saw a 5 and a 6. If there's an 8 there, I'm very happy. It could be a spade. It could be the 8 of spades. It could be right here. Ah, oh, it's the jack. Check. 10 though. Maybe I win. Ah. So that's a small re-raise. I kind of don't love doing this because I kind of kill the action sometimes. But I don't think I want to just call here. If I go broke after having 4-bet aces pre, then it's just too bad. But this player's going to rejam quite a bit because this looks like a squeeze-off attempt. So a hand like queens or kings may call, but ace-king will probably jam. This is really the problem. Well, that's not awesome. I'm going to see what happens. This is the problem right here. I'm really thinking it's more of... I mean, it could definitely be ace-queen. Wow, this board just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm still not really planning on folding to any significant action. I mean, that could definitely have me beat. But I don't think we're folding. He's going to have jacks and I'm going to throw up, right? Flush. How? Like, the one time I don't just go absolutely fucking banana crackers ape shit with the aces. Oh, my God. He even jammed it with a double paired board. It's just like, ugh. It's so annoying. Ugh. Like, I tried to give him some kind of range. There's literally no range there. God, that's annoying. And it just has to come off, so it's like perfect to set up the two barrel bluff. Like, he checks the flop, bets the turn, barrels river. Like, if he'd shown me jacks there, I wouldn't even be pissed. It's so annoying. This fucking guy getting in the way is the problem, too. Or, it wasn't him, but the guy who was sitting there. Oh, it was him. Jesus. It's just depressing. Ten is the worst card in the deck. Don't need to see it. No, it's a 10. I have no doubt in my mind. The 2x overbet on the river. What was the actual river? What was it? It was like 10 deuce. Wow. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Yep, yep, yep. Wasn't really sure. It's going okay, Gray Fox. Running into it a little bit today, but it's all right. Limps, calls, raise, leads. Yeah, no shit, pal. Looks like I've had enough of the boring cash games. Time to get back into tournaments. I'm definitely getting a little bit annoyed with it. Although I do have this tendency that when I'm running into obstacles that I can't control, like bad beats, and oh, hang on a sec, I gotta mute you guys for a second. I'm getting a phone call here. Sorry, had to mute for a second. I got a call from my doctor's office. They're just confirming an appointment checkup. But yeah, I tend to have this thing where taking bad beats and not getting the results I'm looking for, it kind of makes me want to continue as long as I'm playing well, and I feel like for the most part I'm playing well. There's been a few days where I've definitely gotten a little too loose because of frustration. But generally, I keep going back and going over the hands, and generally I'm doing things well and just kind of running bad. But so I kind of get stubborn and I kind of want to keep going, and I honestly expected to be well further in this cash game challenge at this point.
Like, I don't even know if this is ever legit, but it's just stupid to call here. Especially when first position is just begging to trap somebody. Um, so yeah, it is time to get back to tournaments, but honestly, I didn't have the motivation today. I thought about it, but I really didn't have it. I think I want to play, yeah, always the flush. Like, I know this is a flush draw. Always the flush here. It's hilarious. Like, ugh. And of course, the guy leaves as soon as he takes one small beat. Ugh. You just never get a chance with these guys. It's the guy who cracked my aces with the shitty 3-bet on the button and then weird play. But yeah, so I definitely want to get into tournaments. But honestly, I'm very um, I'm semi over focused on the cash games, and I'm for some reason I'm kind of dreading the super long, 6+ hour session of tournaments. I don't know. I definitely am kind of wanting to play tournaments, but at the same time, when I think about how the time commitment, I'm kind of put off by it. My week's been kind of hectic, so I haven't been able to say definitively that it would be a good time to sit down for 6 hours and play. So yeah, definitely need to balance it better. I think my original schedule of playing cash games just whenever and playing tournaments on the weekends, I think is a fairly good plan. But yeah, the thing of it is, it kills me too because I see how very beatable this is, and it's just for the past like week. Like I did very well. The first I don't know 20 or so sessions, and then in the past week it's just been break even or loss and recovery. Um, so I just win this one straight up. Queen 10, Jack 10. Maybe we can call here. A little baby flush. Guy had Jack 8 suited. I'm just gonna check that one. I mean, obviously, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish with that min bet. But yeah, so I want to play tournaments tomorrow, but I have to work some stuff out tonight to be able to. And if I can, then I will get up and do the tournaments. I just kind of it's been one of those things where like every day it's been like something's been happening that's taken me away from it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just losing patience a little bit. It's one of those things that's hard for me to regain because the advice when somebody is, running badly or losing patience or this, that, and the other, or feeling disenfranchised with poker, like the advice is very simple. The advice is take a break. But I find that very, very, very hard to do because I really, other than playing like Hearthstone, I really don't have much else I would want to do. I want to, or go to the gym, but I've been sick for the past week. So I don't go to the gym when I'm sick. I mean, for obvious reasons, but also it'll make me fucking sicker. I used to do that, and man, like it's the surest way to turn a cold into a full-on strep throat fucking nightmare. So I'm a bit antsy. That's why I'm kind of playing lesser tables now. I'm just trying to maintain my patience and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know if all that rambling answered your question, but basically, like I'm not bored right now. You're just seeing me actively pushing the hands out of my head that went badly for me. And it's that thing where it's very disheartening to a poker player where like cuz and I remember this. I remember feeling absolutely crushed. There's a very famous poker player who's very well respected, I'm not gonna call him out, but he's a lifelong, legend. But I was dealing at the Venetian, and he knew I was playing full time as well, and also just dealing the high stakes games, because that's kind of what they needed me for. And I spotted him on the side, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna start a game in a little bit. Are you dealing?" And I was like, "No, no, I'm actually." They sent me home, and he calls the floor, and he wanted me to deal, and I was like, "That's cool, whatever." They gave me another uniform for free, and $50 in something pay, like company something, like it was basically like a bonus to say, "Hey man, come on." So I got changed, and I come back out and I talk to him, and he's thanking me and he tips me, and I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, man." And he goes, "So how's it going?" And I said, "Man," and I said, "I know you don't want to hear this." And he's like, "You're not gonna tell me a bad beat, are you?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "It's just a general thing where I'm just kind of running poorly and blah blah blah." And then he's like, "Well, tell me about it." And I was like, "I thought you didn't want to hear the bad beats." And he goes, "No, no, no, tell me." So we start talking, and I give him an example, and he goes, "That was the first hand," and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay," and yeah, I was one where I had like flopped the nuts, and we got all the money in, and the guy hit running full house cards on me with top pair, and just really outlandish shit that kept happening, and it was like 5 or 6 hands, and he was like, uh, he's like, "So this is just one day?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it was today, but honestly, this is how my whole last week has been going." And he's like, "Well, how many buy-ins are you down?" And I was like, "I'm down only like 2 buy-ins." And he's like, "And this has been the way of it for the last like week?" And I was like, "Well, more like the last 3 weeks." And we went through my phone, and I went through my sessions and all like that. And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I'm gonna tell you something you're not gonna want to hear. Um, you played great." He's like, if everything you're telling me is true, you played great, and you just got unlucky. And I said, "Man, that is so." He goes, "Yeah, that's really disheartening, isn't it?" He's like, "You can do everything right and still lose." And he's like, "And I'm going to tell you a really sad fact of life right now." He's like, "I know a player." He's like, "You wouldn't know him, but he might be one of the best uh, poker players I've ever met. Like hands down, not tournament, not cash, just overall, for every game that he plays, he might be the best." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "But you don't know who this guy is?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "That's because this dude has had bad runs at the wrong time and not managed his bankroll properly, and he'll never get anywhere. And he'll just be one of those guys who will be in his 80s looking back and not thinking there was anything he did wrong, but the thing he did wrong was manage his bankroll poorly." And I talked to him, and he gave me a pretty good outline of how to manage your bankroll. Through my poker career, I have never been able to do it, simply because I just haven't had the funds. Like, I've always needed the money for something else. And right now is the first time in my life where I'm getting financial support from my family to try and rebuild. And I've rebuilt and paid rent and stuff like that from the starting points I've had. And it's like, if I could have half the success that I've had in the past, over the past like 3 months, I would be doing very well and not even needing any more financial help from my parents. But I would take it so that I could build up a nice cushion and a proper bankroll for the first time in my life. And I'm just feeling very kind of hopeless, like, just because it's been very unsettling, to go through this, have this opportunity to not have to worry about bills, but not. And it's like I'm sitting there thinking, well, am I not taking it seriously? Am I not putting the right pressure on myself? Am I not doing it? And I really can't come up with the answer. So you're kind of watching me be as zen as I possibly can and not get frustrated and tilt my face off. So I'm kind of at that point, and it's just kind of miserable. And but the other thing that I remember this guy telling me about is that sometimes if you're doing that, if you can honestly assess that you are playing to the standard that you would like, you should continue to play as long as you can maintain that standard and try to play through. Because he said when you come out the other side, you'll find that you
realize certain things and you play better overall, and it'll build mental toughness. And I believe that, but it's very hard not to think that you're just cursed, when you sit there and you're like, okay, I had to have messed this hand up, and then like you put it in solvers and you run it through 3 different things and you ask a bunch of people and this, that, and the other, and they're like, no, they're like, you're 100% correct, and you're just like, so I'm so correct that I lost. And the thing is, when that happens in cash games, you get over it much more quickly than when it happens in tournaments, because with tournaments you could be 6 or 7 hours into a tournament and have that experience, and it just stays with you so much longer because of the zero-sum game that tournaments are. And so I'm kind of trying to work through it. I think what I'm going to do actually when I end this session is I do feel better physically, so I think I'm going to eat and go to the gym probably pretty shortly, just because I just said out loud all the things that are going on in my head and it doesn't feel good. Yeah. And it's alright. What the fuck else am I gonna do? Look at this shit. Check, raise, re-raise, fold. You don't see that very often. So, yeah. That's the thing, though. When I do that, they jam all the money in and hit the flush. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of bummed myself out just now. And the thing is, I don't need any words of encouragement. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it helps. But like, I'm never saying this stuff to hear people say, oh, it'll be all right, you'll get through it, and blah blah blah. And here's the thing: I know all that in my head, but will it happen in time, or will I be one of those maniacs walking around, muttering to himself? I've always said that when you go to Vegas, you're going to see guys walking around the street, pushing shopping carts, sitting there going, and then this happened and that happened, and people go, oh, they're crazy, like that. And I go, yeah, I don't think they're crazy. I think those are poker players who took one too many bad beats. Because it'll drive you crazy. I'll check this. And that's the other thing too. It's like things get muddled. Like I know. Here's the thing. Like, this is one of those things. I know this bet is bullshit. In tournaments, I would check raise this, but even though I know it's bullshit, I cannot continue here because my hand doesn't have enough intrinsic value. So when we raise and miss, the idea there was to get to the flop. And if a good flop had come out, like a queen on it or an ace on it or something like that, then we could absolutely bet. But this flop is just so trash for my opening range versus the button's calling range that I know I have to give up. So that is a smart play that I just made, where I did not see bet. I didn't even waste the money on it, and I just fine. If you want to bet, that's fine. And then his bet is so big that I know he's full of crap. I know it's just equity. But the problem is, even if he only has a gut shot, he still has enough equity to force me off the hand. Player doesn't know this. And that upsets you, because you're like, this guy has no idea how much he's getting wrong and going to get the correct result. Because if I'd had something there, I would have just called him and let him just shove his face off and just give me the whole stack. Like, when you call that and then on the turn they bet again big and you min click it, these guys don't even know how to fold. Like this one. It's a 3-way pot. This player limped out of first. I made a big raise. It got called twice. Of course I'm not folding to this because this isn't a bet. But now the player behind me should raise. Again, this isn't a raise, but I can't do anything because I don't have enough of this. So it's like, it just cost me an extra blind because this player plays so poorly. And stuff like that gets very frustrating.
So, I don't know. So, I think I need to. The thing that usually helps me in this is consuming the media that makes up my general philosophy. And I do try to rewatch certain movies every year because they kind of reset me, you know? It's all the Star Wars. The newer stuff, I guess, keeps getting added. And other movies too, Conan the Barbarian and Let It Ride and um, Mother and what other ones? Predator. Like, there's a lot of movies that like I take things away from that I don't think makes sense to a lot of people. I also typically reread The Art of War every year. I just started doing that when I was a kid because a lot of the philosophies worked for playing pool, and I was a very competitive pool player and traveled around Florida playing on the Florida 9-ball tour. Never did very well and eventually hurt my arm, and that was the end of that. But I used to reread it because it kind of bolstered me. It made me feel smarter. Now the lessons from Sun Tzu's book can completely be applied to poker, like word for word. Like the one that keeps coming back to me is the Book of Combats, and it says very clearly, if your spear hits metal, retreat. If your spear hits flesh, continue, which is a case for aggression. It just means if you stab somebody and you hit their armor, back off. Don't try to like break your spear trying to stab somebody through their armor, right? But if you hit flesh, continue. Push forward. Go for the kill. And that applies so directly to poker, it's ridiculous. When you meet resistance in poker, you can change the plan. But until you meet resistance, keep going. That's why I always say you gotta bet twice. Sometimes you just gotta bet twice. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason behind it. But sometimes you just have to bet twice. The other player, if they showed you their cards that they called with on the flop, it would make zero fucking sense whatsoever. Zero. But if you check the turn, they will lead the river and you will be forced to fold. Whereas if you just bet twice, they give up. So this is annoying because the player is so short. But because of the club draw, I'm going to call. He's going to have an ace if he puts any more money in this pot. I'm going to check. Maybe we get a showdown. He should want a showdown if he has an ace. See, like, look what this guy did. I raised pre-flop. He called it. He only had 35 blinds with pocket sevens. What is your possible reason for betting this flop with pocket sevens? I mean, if you check it and the 6 comes off and I check again, then yeah, you can bet to try to get to the river. But where is the logic? Like, I'm only beating you. I'm only calling you with things that beat you. And then to not bluff the river when the perfect bluff card comes off. It's just really atrocious. Like, and that doesn't make any sense. But then again, that's another one that if I bet there and he calls, I cannot continue betting. And he will jam this turn 100% of the time. And then what do I do with queens here? What do? You just fold because it's a short stack who obviously has an ace, right? At least it should be. So all these things kind of go around in your head no matter how right I know I am. It's just very hard to keep believing you're right. It's the poisoned well. If you ever heard that story, there's a king who runs a kingdom, and he has a fountain in his castle. And as the king, he's the only one that's allowed to drink from this fountain, and it's moving water and it's very clean. It's a status thing, right? And it's just been handed down for generations. So the community well that everybody else in the town drinks from, an animal dies in it, as the story goes. And it gives everybody mania, right? They all go crazy because they're drinking from the well. And this is literally everyone else in the kingdom, right?
And the king is sitting there telling them, no, 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 you have to go to the doctors. You have to get treated. You have to whatever. You're obviously unwell. You know, you're crazy. I'm telling you, something's wrong here. And he doesn't know what it is. And eventually, so many people are insane that the king is convinced that he's crazy because everybody else is saying that he's nuts. But they're the ones that are seeing, pink rabbits that he can't see. So eventually he goes down and he drinks from the well because it's just an easier life to be accepted by everyone else and as crazy as them than it is to maintain your sanity and fight the entire world. And that's the lesson of the thing. And it took me so long to understand what that meant. It really means, like Captain America said in the old comics, they adapted it to when Peggy died in Infinity War. They put her niece, the blonde girl that Steve Rogers had kissed, they put her on the pulpit and let her give the eulogy. And she gives the eulogy that Captain America in the comics originally said when talking about fighting a war on your own. And the line that she uses in the movie, I don't remember specifically, but in the comics, it was the challenge of being of fighting for the right cause is that everybody's going to tell you you're wrong and to ask you to move. And in that moment, you are to plant your feet as an oak and say, no, you move. They paraphrased it for the movie, but it came like such a rush back, and it's such an embodying thing because you have to have complete and utter unwavering confidence that what you're doing is right and keep going and keep plowing ahead. And sometimes it's very hard to do when you're not getting the results you should. I'm still performing at above the average. I'm still beating the games, but it's not going how I know it should go. I'm just very frustrated with this whole scenario right now because I just played another hour and change. There was a little bit before the stream started, and I did about 5 or 6 tables the whole time. So that's about 400, maybe 500 hands. And I'm sitting here at almost even. I'm sitting here down $3. And it was like there's 5 hands I can point to. Great books. Who wrote that? Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War. The king, the story of the king, it's just a fable. I think it's one of... it might be one of Aesop's... No, it's not Aesop's fables. It's a fable. It goes back to some... It's not the Bible, but it's the guy who... It's one of the guys who originally penned the Bible. I think... I forget. But yeah, it's a great... it's a great fable to remember. But yeah, Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War, if that's the one you're asking about. I gotta find the king story. I forget what it was. I heard the story originally in Serpico. It took me so long to watch Serpico, and I knew, like, I had a bunch of movies that I was like, oh, these are seminal movies. I have to watch these. Like, Psycho and The Godfather and, The Rosebud. What's that one? I forget the name of it, but Casablanca, fucking It's a Wonderful Life, just like Miracle on 34th Street, just like all these movies that people are like, oh, it's a classic, you have to watch them. And I went through a time when I was younger where I needed to consume all the classics. I read all the Shakespeare. I've read Moby Dick. I read Moby Dick when I was in high school, and that freaked people out. But here's the thing, like, when you learn this stuff, you're like, oh, these are classics because they were first a lot of the times. Like, my personal opinion is Shakespeare sucks. It's written as shit. Like, the jokes aren't even funny, and he's crass. He's not clever. It's just written in this iambic pentameter that people think is smart. It's just a shitty book. And he just wrote all the stories first. If you're the first guy, usually you do the best. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, until the second guy comes along and writes the story better. But, yeah. What was I saying? Oh, whatchamacallit? I was talking about Captain America and shit. So it's just very hard to to not think you're doing something wrong, because Fedor Holtz had a great quote. He said that the stupidest thing a poker player can do is change a winning system because it's losing. And there's so much wisdom in that quote for poker players, because if you have a winning system, a winning method that beats the games you're in, why would you change it just because you're losing? But your logical brain goes, well, then it doesn't win. But that's not true. It wins the majority of the time. You're just falling into variance. Everybody's going to have to lose sometimes. You know? So I'm just kind of at that point, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have something to eat, and then I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to lift weights, and that always makes me feel better. And I'll come back and either I'll play or I'll just do a like a just chatting stream, or like maybe like a tournament study stream, and we'll see. But yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going through right now. But other than that, life's pretty good. It's just that this makes up, for me to feel good about life, this makes up about 80%. You know, because I put so much effort into it. And I'm waiting for somebody to come along. Like I actually had like a daydream that I would get like an email from some great player, or like Jonathan Little, or somebody, Faraz Jaka. It's like somebody who coaches and plays, you know what I'm saying? And they would be like, look, you got a lot of potential, but here's what you're fucking up. And they just tell me that I'm doing everything wrong. Like, and it felt like such a relief when I had that daydream. You know, because it's like, I'd love to be wrong, but I can't find the flaws. And it's very, very frustrating. So that's where I'm at. I remember when I was dealing back in the day, I was dealing a tournament, and this guy who played a lot of tournaments around Vegas, and he was nobody, but I'd seen him around, and he came up, and we had talked about poker a lot, because he would see me not be able to get, you know, dealing, so I would have to play and then make way more money. And we started talking about hands, and we played a few times. Have I read the Book of the Five Rings? No, I haven't. I'll have to put that on the list. Book of Five Rings. I'll check it out. There's usually always a comic adaptation of every fable and old book. It's hilarious. Oh, that thing I was saying about, I just heard it. Serpico. I didn't watch Serpico till I was in my early 30s. I was actually with Courtney, and it quickly became one of my top 3 movies of all time. I've seen it hundreds of times, and the story in that, when Serpico's with the one girl that he ends up driving away because he's not on the take, and he's reporting people, and he basically, the story of, you know, Serpico is that it's a real cop who led to the Internal Affairs Bureau. And it's an amazing movie played by Al Pacino, and it really is wonderful. And it's young Al Pacino, so he's not doing the you know, he's like a real person. And I mean, this is right around Godfather. I think it's pre-Godfather, and directed by Martin Scorsese, just amazing. And there's a scene where the woman tells Serpico the story of the king and the well, and she tells it much better, much more succinctly, and it's like she's telling him to stop. Even though he's right, she's trying to find a nice way to tell him that this isn't going to make for a happy life. You're just ruining your life. You're not going to change anything and all like that. She never says all that, but at the end of the story, Serpico goes, so do you think I should stop? And she goes, why is it up to you to be right? And he like can't explain it, and eventually their relationship ends, and he goes on, and nothing changes until the end of the story, spoiler, or until the end of the movie, where Serpico gets hung out to dry by his fellow cop buddies, and they don't back him up, and he ends up getting shot in the face in a raid. And then he gets to go in front of the Congress, explain what happened. Great quote by Fedor Holtz about losing and changing strategy. I remember that. Yeah, that quote stuck with me, man, because it's so true. I actually have it screenshotted on my phone, and I look at it sometimes, because it really is true. You know, nobody's invulnerable. Even Phil Ivey, I mean, even Fedor Holtz, they all lose. You know what I'm saying? We all have to lose, and it's a very hard thing to deal with, and it keeps you very humble. But anyway, and so after he gets shot in the face, they like offered him his gold detective shield and all like that, and they were trying to get him to shut up. But he ends up going in front of the Congress, and they created the Internal Affairs Commission that didn't exist before that. And now it's, cops on cops, cops to police the police. And the end of the story is basically explaining everything that he has to go through physically, the meager reward he got, and the fact that he now lives in Switzerland. He left the country. And all he ever wanted to be was a cop, but it just wasn't there for him. His purpose was to do that. What hands do you think you shouldn't call, even though they look decent in cash games, really new to it? That is a very broad question. That comes down to ranges. It comes down to player tendency. You don't really want to compensate versus population for most people, so typically you have to give me more information than that. I've called with King High on stream and been right for 3 buy-ins in a pot, just a monstrous pot with King High. And I've also called with the Nut Flush and lost to a backdoor full house. So you kind of need to give me more than that. There's a follow-up to the Serpico story, too, where they do a documentary years later, and they talk about what's happened to him over the last 40 years, and he's still involved in it, and it still feels like he's just pushing the boulder up a hill, and it keeps falling back down on him. It's really fascinating stuff to watch, though. But yeah, so that's kind of... And I know I'm supposed to be, like, happy and upbeat and optimistic and just Jonathan Little the whole way, just the robot. Oh, well, I do this here and I do this here and I do this here, and oh, it didn't work out. This is a 1% chance. Boom, moving on. But I don't have Jonathan Little's money yet. So every lost dollar hurts so much. And as a human being, you look for the reason. There's a great example by Neil deGrasse Tyson, who he said, let's put 500 people in a room. And he did this to explain the universe, right? He says, I'm going to get 500 people in a room. And he's in an auditorium. And he says, everybody's going to pull a quarter out of their pocket, put it on heads, and then we're going to flip it. And we're going to look at it. And everybody who flips it heads is going to sit down. And then everybody who's left with tails will flip again. So statistically, we know that 250 are going to sit down, 125, 67, 34, and it boom, 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 and we'll go all the way down from either 1,000 or 500, I forgot what it was, down to 1. And then that guy who ends up being the last guy standing, we're going to give a prize. And it's a big prize. And when we talk to him, we're going to say, how did you feel? He says 99% of the time the person says something like, I woke up feeling lucky. About halfway through, I knew I was going to win. Ask the other people who lost. They had the same thoughts because it's human nature. So I know that these decisions are correct. I know that I'm supposed to lose a certain amount of time. But when it smacks you in the face and variance bunches up, your brain looks for these logical reasons as to why things are happening. And you have to let it go and say, I can't control everything. And as a poker player, that's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. Need to think about the question more. Yeah, it's true, man. That's a very broad question. But, yeah, so I'm kind of just feeling frail. And tournaments will tear your heart out. So I guess that's why I've been sticking to the cash games. There's been a few times where I've missed some C-bets that I should have made or didn't barrel off. But for every one of those, there's 5 more that I got right, I think. But that is a leak, That does cause me to lose a little bit. But, like face cards that are multiple apart and offsuit. Oh, you mean like pre-flop? I'm gonna break your brain, buddy. Every hand is playable pre-flop under the right circumstances. You have to let go that there are good hands and bad hands. There are only bad situations. 7 deuce offsuit can be a 4-bet in the right situation. I'm not saying it's, common, but I'm actually thinking of an instance where that was the move and I pulled it off. So it's not about the exact hand you have. It's about your stack, your position, your image to a small extent, your perceived range, your actual range, your hand, your actual hand, and your hand range versus your actual hand, the position that you're playing against, their perceived range, do they have the nut advantage or the range advantage? There's a lot of factors, but there's literally no hand that if somebody said, hey Josh, here's this hand, are you ever going to play this? I don't know, because I can tell you 100% I have played every hand in the deck from the blinds. You get 7 deuce in the big blind, even offsuit. If it limps out of first and 5 people call it, I'll tell you a little fun fact. You only need 11-1 to play 2 blank cards, meaning any hand in the deck is good at 11-1 pre-flop. So if you get 11-1 and you fold 7 deuce, you lost money. So you're in the small blind, and let's say the player in first limps, 2 people call it, and it comes back to you in the small blind with 7 deuce, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 blinds because of the big blind. That's 8. You have to call half a blind to win 8.5. So you're getting, what is that? 17-1. Half a blind to win 8.5 blinds. Yeah, it's like 17-1. You have to call. Like, here's the thing. You can institute a policy of just raising or folding from the small blind. In that instance, you can fold. But, like, let's say you're in the big blind and somebody min raises and 5 people call it. Well, now you're getting 12.5-1 on calling 1 blind. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about the cards. Don't look for the cards. Look for the situation and the range. I'll say, Blaze, the thing you should do, pokercoaching.com. Jonathan Little's site. Sign up for a free membership. Use the tools. You don't have to pay for a membership. That's the site that I pay for a membership every year, and it's worth every penny. But honestly, it's more resource than you're ever going to get through in your lifetime, even at the free level. So use the tools, to get the pre-flop charts, answer questions, go through it. Pokercoaching.com. That's what you want. Sign up there, and hey man, maybe down the line you'll pay for a membership, but you don't have to. There's a lot of free stuff on there that'll get you going real good, and very specific things too that you can use. So enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and stick around for the host, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end it, and I'll see you in a little while probably, just because I want to stream more today. And yeah, I'm going to try to go feel good and get my head back. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great one.